Yeah.
This is actually where the very first store was located. It was in Amsterdam. Now that was the first actual like Stam. There was actually a bakery right here. That was by Fritz, but it was a bakery and chocolate shop. But basically, by I guess the advice of his friends, family, they told him to stick with just chocolate. So apparently his baking wasn't the best in the world. But yeah, so they opened up the very first one in 1913. They actually lived on the second and fourth floors of the same building in Amsterdam. And that one, I'm pretty sure is not even there anymore. I mean, it is in the same spot. Jacob. I said Eric. That picture was taken probably a couple of years ago. And they do all speak Dutch. And these are in all the stores. And it's just a way for people, like when they come in, if they want to learn about the history of our store. And we have a little thing up there that kind of explains, you know, specializing in chocolate. And this one, what's nice about these, it kind of says what store is owned by. So like the Teig family owns this one. Because the family business is family business. Now in Des Moines, Eric's related, I mean everyone, it's a big family business. So as far as the like franchises, they don't even call them franchises, they actually call them extended family stores because they like to have them family run. So basically the first one started in Ingersoll in '98. We have moved to where we have down the road on Ingersoll a little bit. We have a store in Valley West Mall now too. Those were the very first 2 Stams ever made, or opened I should say, in the US. That was in '98, and right now at 2012 we have 14 stores. Last year we moved from a 2,000 square foot facility, which is actually about the size of this first floor, to a 20,000 square foot factory. So we're looking to support about 100 to 25 to 150 stores. Ton is the overall owner, which we don't have a picture of him up there, but thank you. He wants to keep growing the business in the Midwest, basically expand out. I mean, he's had people from Beverly Hills want to open up a store, and he basically refuses to because he wants to keep it all central. And well, one, we don't even know how we'd ship it out there, because with our chocolate, it's real quick too, we don't use wax or preservatives. So that's why if you've ever come in here before, it's freezing cold. At least on the far right side, we have 2 separate air conditioners for the chocolate, just so the chocolate doesn't melt. And so, I mean, you can put it in your hand, it'll melt in no time. You kind of asked, I guess, what chocolates we sold in the first Stam ever. I mean, it's kind of like it is now. It was a wide variety of chocolates. It just was all handmade. So I mean, there's probably peanut clusters. Unfortunately, we don't have very many records of what actually was sold in 1913. But yeah, I mean, variety of fine chocolates from just plain milk dark to, I'm guessing, peanut clusters, stuff like that. I'm guessing you guys have had Betty Jane's.
Yes.
The chocolates are going to look probably in 1913 more like their chocolates did. I mean, not to knock Betty Jane's by any means, but theirs are kind of just all look the same. That's probably closely what they look like. Now ours obviously look completely different, and I think taste a little better, but I won't. So basically, let's see what else, just so I don't mess up anything. Basically, and just to update like USA wise, as far as making chocolates, we've used machines. I mean, we do use machines because, like, for some of the chocolates, it's just repetitive. It's the same thing over and over again. But, like, with some of our chocolates, they still are handmade. And they are a little more expensive for that reason, but not a big reason. You guys asked if candy was a privilege back in 1913. It was more of a luxury item. I mean, back in 1913, it was not as sweet as it is now. It's more kind of just like a dark chocolate taste. Milk chocolate has a little more of a sweeter taste into it. So it kind of is more of a luxury taste. Not a whole lot, but I mean, you still had adults, children eating it. What else did you guys ask? The employee jobs. Basically, like I said, the peanut clusters and mocha sticks that we have are all made by hand. And so, I mean, back then we had employees that basically did everything. Made the chocolate, sold it. I mean, and I know you guys asked as far as advertising. I mean, back in 1913, it was just newspapers. Yeah. So, I mean, we don't know for sure if they advertised. But as far as how it's different then and now, I mean, we have people that do strictly marketing, that do just making the chocolate, just the factory. Like Eric on the bottom left, that's about how he looks like now. Europeans take chocolate so seriously that you have to do 20 years worth of internships or basically following people to be considered a master of chocolate. That's how seriously they take chocolate.
Wow.
And he's on year, I think, like 18. So he goes back to Amsterdam about 4 to 5 times a year and spends about 2 weeks each time, just learning new stuff, anything he can. But yeah, back in the day, it was kind of a few people did a little bit of everything, as far as, because I mean, back then it was, like I said, it was a tiny shop and basically made the chocolate, sold it, anything like that. Now, like I said, today we have marketing and whatnot because we have corporations that want chocolate. Like here in town, U.S. Bank, we have a logo account with. Hotel Julian does, DB&T, a couple other companies. So I mean, I kind of do a little bit of everything, but as far as our production facility, it's about the same. The look of the candy shops. One thing we do not sell candy. That is one thing we do not sell. We sell chocolate, fine European chocolate. And if the owner was here, he would say the exact same thing. It drives him nuts when people call it candy. He considers American chocolate candy. He considers anything American candy, but as far as us, we sell chocolate. But as far as the stores, I mean, our stores don't look anything like the European stores. I mean, we've had a few people go overseas and see theirs compared to ours. Now, we try to incorporate some of like the European feel with the chandeliers and a little bit of the ceiling, but with each store, they kind of emphasize their own unique town. It's like Dubuque is a very historic town with the buildings, so we wanted to try and incorporate as much of that as we could if possible. It's like we have a Dubuque white biscuit can. Like, I mean, it says Dubuque on, so we have a Dubuque lard can. Just anything we can. We sponsor the Fighting Saints, so we're gonna get a jersey signed by the whole team, and we're gonna hang it up somewhere in here. But so that's how it's different. And the European stores are very much smaller. I mean, it's like in and out for them. Very much more Europeanized, utilitarian style stores at least. So yeah, I already told you about the advertising because not much is a change. I mean, the only thing that's different obviously now is that we use, newspapers, TVs, Facebook. Like that's how we let people know as far as our chocolates, how to get it out, stuff like that. The flavor, actually, we don't have any records of it ever changing. So basically, the family recipe, they're pretty tight with it, and they don't explain it to hardly anyone, actually. But basically, it's probably been about the exact same. The only difference would be is that it's gotten a little sweeter, and that's just with how people wanted chocolate is all. As far as selling other products in chocolate, we don't have like an exact year date when we did, but we sell, at least nowadays, we sell a lot of other things than just chocolate. But back then, I'm sure they still sold maybe some other harder candies, I guess, in the store that they probably bought from someone else. We don't really have a for sure record of, who bought what. But, eventually it did turn into where now we sell wine, beer, gelato, which gelato wasn't made back then, but gelato we brought over because it is a European ice cream and it's very, very good. So,
I had it in Italy.
Yeah, we have that. The wine kind of came in, I think, into play when we moved over here too, in about '98. Now we serve it here. A lot of stores just sell it by the bottle, but we actually serve it here. And then the coffees, we have teas, we have all sorts of other biscuits style items that we actually do get imported from overseas. There are a few things that we do get imported. Not everything is made in the US, but like the licorice, all is imported. And so, like, American licorice is like soft, like Twizzlers. The European licorice is not all like that. It is actually like rock hard, something like you have to basically throw in your mouth and keep them in your mouth for a while. And I've had people bite instantly down and almost chip a tooth.
So when you said that the chocolate makers spend like 20 years studying, is that like every chocolate maker in the U.S. has to go over and study for a while?
Oh, no. How chocolate's made in the U.S., it's basically all wax. Not all wax, but you can save it like a Snickers. You could take out in 80-degree weather and it'll last forever. See, our chocolate, it would start melting instantly. Now, they may send their chocolate people overseas. I highly doubt it. The reason we do is because we are a fine European chocolate. And so we actually import our chocolate in kind of like little chocolate chips. Over here we melt it down and then we mold it and make it what it is. And so Eric just goes back basically to learn if there's any new mixtures or new flavors that we can do. Like we just got a sea salt caramel in this summer, and that has been by far our most popular chocolate. We sold probably 30 pounds a week. I mean, it's unbelievable. I've had a waiting list for it. But yeah, he goes back, like I said, probably 4 to 5 times a year, 2 weeks at a time, and spends time back at the 3 factories we have over there. And, well, I mean, one is to see his family too, but it's also a way for him to, you know, see what they're doing differently and whatnot. So, I mean, maybe they send people over. I really don't know, but we do all the time.
Stam does. Okay.
Yeah. Well, Eric is basically, he designs the chocolate, makes it for all the stores. So as far as testing, I mean, when I go back sometimes if they have new chocolates, they'll let me try them to see what I think. But for the most part, Eric does everything, designs them and whatnot, and he knows chocolate. It's, when he starts talking about it, it's unbelievable because, I mean, as far as chocolate covered strawberries, what we do, you actually have to melt the chocolate at a certain temp for a certain amount of time, or actually burn the chocolate, or you'll actually get it to crystallize, which, so when it's done melting, it'll actually have this like brown, almost like a brown sugar streak in it because it hasn't mixed properly and whatnot. So there's a lot of ways of chocolate can be melted. It's pretty unbelievable.
Yeah.
I was like, now that you brought it up. The price of the chocolate we don't have a record of, but Eric thought the closest that we did was probably $1.50 per pound, which is very cheap because right now we sell it for about $28 a pound.
Oh, wow.
Which is actually, if you think about it, because there are other chocolate shops in the U.S. that are kind of, you know, fancier or whatnot. I can't think of them off the top of my head, but I've gone to some places that sell a pound of chocolate for $80. Yeah,
Oh my
I mean,
gosh.
it's unreal, and you know the economy's bad and whatnot, and people don't understand that. Find really, really good chocolate like ours, it doesn't cost a lot. Thus, we don't need to raise our prices. Since we've been open as a store for a year and a half, we've only had prices raised on 2 items, and I mean they were by cents. It was not even really a big change, and that's because good chocolate is not expensive. And Americans think like a Snickers is so expensive. Like a Snickers should not be as expensive as it is. It's just
Would it be
ridiculous.
because of all the wax and stuff they do?
Oh, they just know they can charge that much.
Or the paper wrapping.
Yeah. Well, see how they do it. I would be shocked if Snickers, Twix, anything like that, if those chocolates ever touch American like hands at all. That thing, those could probably run through a machine. Could be completely done, wrapped, everything all in one.
Yeah.
See, now like us, we do have some of that, but those chocolates, we only have 40 of the 70-some chocolates we sell are never touched by hand. And that's just because we sell a lot of them. Now the ones by hand, they might be in a machine maybe half the time, not even, and then the rest is all done by hand. And so those chocolates are a little more expensive for that reason, but they're really still not that expensive. So